Hello and welcome to You Talk. I'm Kyle, this is Horst, and today, what are we discussing, Horst?
Mother, can I trust the government?
I think you just topped Dino Nuggies.
Oh.
Watch our first couple of episodes and you'll know what Dino Nuggies is. God, our channel has in-jokes now. I just realized our channel has in-jokes. We've reached a new level. We have gone Super Saiyan. Or would it be super politician? Actually, no.
It's over 9,000.
All right. Back to the topic, because we need to keep this under 14 minutes because we're super professional and we absolutely will do that. So, can we trust the government to prioritize our interests? That's the question today. So that I don't ramble on forever.
No. Long form answer, maybe we could.
Okay, so I don't talk forever because I have a lot that I can say about this. Horst, please take it away.
Okay, so the Mother Should I Trust the Government was a Pink Floyd reference. For those of you who are old enough to remember
I should
Pink
have worn
Floyd,
my Pink Floyd shirt.
Thank goodness.
I actually have one.
For those of you who aren't, you might know Tom Morello from Rage Against the Machine, who in 2018 had to go on record reminding people that he did in fact hold an honours degree in political science, and thus was perfectly qualified to point out that the US government could not be trusted.
Oh, wow.
It's a little bit...
So interesting. That's interesting. I learned something today, and something interesting. Send me a link to that after this. Send me a link. I want to read about that.
Okay, sure thing. But you see these remarks about, wonder what Rage Against the Machine was so worked up about. I reckon it was a printer. And it's true, printers are awful. But at the same time, no, not like that. But Tom Morello's just a recent musician of many who've held anti-establishment leanings because the establishment have proven time and again that they do not value the human lives for which they are responsible.
Before we go
this
further,
is what we come to. Yeah.
Before we go further, I actually want you to define establishment, because a lot like that term gets thrown around a lot. So why don't you actually define establishment? What is the meaning of that in this context?
In this context, the establishment is the ingrained system of power that governs an area.
Wow. Honestly, better definition than I could have come up with.
It's okay, I've got a dictionary over there. You can beat me over the head if I'm wrong.
Yeah. Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah. My ADHD brain just immediately went to, I was punching you in the face. I don't know
but over the internet.
Yes.
In any case.
I'm in a mood today.
The question is, can we trust the government to prioritize human interests? And
yes. Okay. So there's a few things, because
hang on. I'm gonna get ahead of this. I'm getting ahead of you on this.
All right. Do it.
If we ask them to prioritize human interests, necessarily we ask what is being taken from to prioritize human interests. What else is in the running that competes with human interests?
That implies it's a zero-sum game.
The moment you say the moment you say prioritize, it does become a zero-sum game.
True.
We are prioritizing something.
Does that mean the question is
I don't think it is, because we can acknowledge that governments are influenced by things that aren't useful, and that detracts from their ability to serve.
True. Interesting points.
But ultimately, what Kyle will get to the moment he's let off leash is that what would necessarily suffer in the same way that human interests have suffered is corporate interests. So, Kyle, like Jesus, risen from the dead after the 3-day long weekend, full of chocolate and strangely still with a lance wound under his rib. Tell us about the body corporate.
All right, so I'm kind of going to tell you
have the
about that.
Jesus look going on.
I do actually. I even okay. So this was given to me by my partner. It's actually like a I don't know, cardigan type thing. I don't even know what this is called, but it's like a sleeveless and it like extends really far down. Don't tell me what it's called though, because I don't want to know. There's a reason for that, because eventually I want to have a discussion one day and I want to use that as a point. It's a long story. But getting back to this one. I know you'll know
corporatism. Corporatism. Really,
I'm getting there. Okay, so there's three things that we need to consider. So corporatism, or the commercial interests in politics, what I refer to more as commercialism rather than corporatism, because it's not just corporations, it's corporations, it's the sort of ultra wealthy. It's basically, in my mind, there are two kinds of people: those who work for their money and those who sit on their ass and watch money roll in. Well, yeah, there's landlords, but it's not just, landlords. It's people who, like, they'll own a bunch of shares in a bunch of different companies, and those companies just have profits, and so they watch money roll in. Now, those aren't bad things. If you invest in a company...
Not in of themselves, no.
Yeah, you invest in a company, that company, blows up, and, your investment helped that company to do so. Sure, you get a slice of the profits. Nothing wrong with that. However, that does still mean that you're a person who, does not work for their money, but rather you invest for your money. Again, nothing wrong with that, but that's how it is. And so the commercial interest is one of the influences that can skew the actions of government. Now, there are other interests. So there are the interests of different lobby groups. The commercial interest actually happens to have the most powerful lobbyists and lobby groups because they can donate the most money to political parties. But then there's also unions. There's other special interest groups, say environmental groups. I'm part of a really good environmental group, or a climate action group called Climate Action Burwood Canada Bay. They don't donate money to political parties, but they have campaigned for different candidates in the past, and they have done their best to try and help voters become more informed in the lead up to elections. And they also just attend different festivals and open days. I was once volunteering for them for a university open day where we're just talking to people about sustainability and climate action, and how they can get involved and help to get those things moving in a better direction. So they could be considered kind of like a lobby group, and so they're one of many influences. And effectively, all of those influences are special interests that a government or a politician, a member of parliament has to juggle. Yeah, they need to juggle those interests. Essentially, if they drop one interest, well, that's sort of that's in this metaphor of juggling them, they're neglecting that interest. And so can we trust them to prioritize all of our best interests while they're juggling all of these other interests as well, us essentially being one of many? It is exceedingly difficult to do so. And I have seen if in the context of Australian politics, I've seen the Liberal Party just decide not to give a shit for the most part, with the exception of a couple of MPs. If I remember correctly, was it Bridget Archer that voted in favor of, I think, Helen Haynes's Integrity Commission bill?
Yep.
Yeah, so Bridget Archer, props to her. She went against her party and even got ambushed, sort of metaphorically speaking, ambushed with a meeting with ScoMo, and I think with that. I don't know the exact content of the meeting, but from what I heard, it basically was her being reprimanded by her party leader for voting in favor of something she believed in, which I can get disagreements and being disappointed with somebody, but at the same time, I mean, as discussed in previous episodes, ScoMo is well, he wasn't the greatest prime minister. Let's just say that, perhaps one of our worst, and it was very much inappropriate in my opinion. But that's sort of another story. What I can say though is that there are very few politicians, very few members of parliament who can be so blatant in their support of the human interest. Who can be so so straightforward in their prioritizing of all of our collective interest, because they have to juggle so much. And the reason for that is because all of these special interests don't just have power because they can campaign on behalf of or against parties and candidates, but at the same time, all these special interests can donate money, and many do. Corporations basically fund the Liberal Party. Unions, I think more so than any other one interest, funds the Labour Party.
There is
the
a
Greens,
historic reason for that, but yeah.
Yeah, well,
The
I mean,
Greens,
it
the
came out.
Greens say that they don't take corporate donations anymore.
Oh,
I don't believe that's actually necessarily a representation of reality, but
look,
it would be nice.
I don't know. I don't know this. I don't know this for a fact. So take my statement with a grain of salt here. But I don't believe that for a second. Before Malcolm Turnbull donated $1 million to his own party, if memory serves me correctly, they took the largest donation in Australian history, and if I remember correctly, it was from the banks, the big banks. The ones who were basically scamming people, and the ones who have put themselves in such a position that they're going to, as soon as the property market collapses, they're going to go into crisis, and we're going to have a massive economic shock that'll very likely lead to a large scale recession. We've actually discussed this in a previous episode.
Just give me a second. That was 2010, and the donor was
I thought it was
Graham Wood.
I thought it was 2018. 2017 or 2018.
No, it was Graham Wood at the time.
Was it like 300 or 600,000?
No, it was 1.68 million.
What the freak? Wouldn't that still be the largest donation in Australian history then?
Possibly.
Because, I mean, Malcolm Turnbull, I think he donated 1 million. So that would still be the largest donation in Australian. Wow, I was not aware of that. You know what?
He gave the Tasmanian Victorian Greens $630,000 in the 2015-16 financial year. No, federal was $1,680,795.
So he donated that much to the Greens.
Yes, but I don't believe he was associated in any way with those banks.
You know what? I'm gonna try and look up what I'm thinking of here, because I'm
okay. But in any case,
get moving along though. I'll post it on screen and we'll do a pause in talking. I'll do it all in post production.
Mother, should I run for president? Mother,
no,
should I trust the government?
Okay, fine. I'll leave that in. I'll just put it over my face. It'll be fine. So we've got essentially influences that skew the actions of government and politicians. We've got the juggling of all of those influences or special interests, which often leaves the human interest neglected at best and ignored at worst. That's what I was going to say before. Is that we've even seen the Labour Party not abandon the human interest, but kind of water down their policies, in some cases somewhat dramatically, to a larger degree than we would want, because they have to they have to ensure that they don't incur the wrath of the commercial power bases in Australia. As discussed in previous episodes, there were three, but there's a fourth that's emerged. There was mining, the media, and the big banks, and now we've got property investors and developers have emerged as the fourth power base, commercial power base of politics in Australia. Which, property developers is fast becoming an insult in Australian slang. So, that's a great power base to have. But how can we improve this? That's sort of the big question that I do want to get to. How can we improve this?
Do we actually have the time to get to that in one video?
Well, it's rather simple. So there's this
Take the money out of politics.
Well, yes, but how do we do that? What's the precise mechanism? And I'm going to tell you that, because this is kind of like in the same way that the Murray-Darling development strategy is my baby, this is also my baby. So I got this idea from somebody else actually, but then I improved on it. So what we need is
good artists borrow, great artists steal.
And the best artist also mix it with better ideas to form something much better. So, God, I just called myself the greatest artist.
It doesn't look a thing like Jesus,
but I do
like a gentleman.
Please, I look like a gentleman. I'm wearing a whatever this is. Anyway, so because we only have 1 minute left, real quickly, we need a constitutional amendment. More than one, actually, but that's for other reasons as well. But we need I'll get into 2 constitutional amendments. So we need one. Actually, no, technically that's the same one. God, I'm getting it all mixed up now. Okay, so we need a constitutional amendment which does 3 things. First, it limits political donations to citizens of Australia with an upper limit of $1,200 a year or $100 a month. Second is
it provides real-time disclosure of all political donations made.
Via
so
a
that
donation
we can
bank.
see.
Well, we'll see. See, here's the thing: how we do that, because that's a great idea. But how we do that is through a special donations bank. All money, all financing of a political nature goes through this bank. You spend money through this bank. You donate through this bank. If you want to donate to a political party, you put it into your account in this bank, and then you transfer it to the account as a donation transfer of the political party or candidate that you want to donate to. And every single transaction is published in real time. Any money that doesn't go through this bank would be illegal and therefore a criminal offense. Now, additionally, so that's all sort of, you can make that a department of the AEC, or the AEC can handle that, or it could be another government bureaucracy. But the last part, the most important part, which they've kind of got now, but I'd argue that it's not strong enough, and it really doesn't go far enough, is the strongest independent commission against corruption that we could have, not just at the federal level though. And this is part of where I think they've really failed. Not only
the interconnected ICACs. Yeah.
Yes.
I love it.
We need an ICAC that goes through all levels of government. Essentially, it's at the federal level, but it has a branch in each state and a branch in each local government, or rather a liaison with each local government, which rotates every, say, 2 months, for example. And so, if we have that, then we find cross government level corruption and collaboration on corruption. So essentially, any conspiracy to commit corruption and hide it on an intergovernmental level, we can find, and there is a surprising amount of that. Then any corruption that just involves a single level of government, they'll find it. And most of the corruption itself stems from large political donations. It stems from finances. I mean, look, if I mention specific examples, I'll probably get sued. So I'll just say, in certain examples, which may or may not include certain construction projects in New South Wales over the last decade, there has been money that may or may not have been pork-barreled to donors of certain political parties who happened to be in government at that time. And that sort of thing may or may not have happened because they donate such large amounts of money to help ensure that that party wins government. And so all of this solves that, the limit on political donations, the absolute transparency, and then as the final line of defense, to catch any and all corruption, an intergovernmental ICAC that cooperates at an intergovernmental level. That is what we need to fix this. That is how we can improve this and ensure that your interest and my interests, that everybody's collective interest is prioritized.
But Kyle,
and we've probably just run over time.
Then who will look after me?
Well, since you'll
I'm
have
kidding. I'm never going to make it. I'm never actually going to get rich enough for that to be a concern.
Well, let's just say that you did through some miracle.
I'm a starving artist, okay?
I mean, me too, but say you did, you'd have just as much influence as everyone else. So you would have influence, but because we've limited political donations to such a level that everyone would have the same influence, your interest would be taken care of, but only as much as everyone else's instead of disproportionately, which is what we have now. And with that, we've run out of time. In fact, we might have gone a little over time, so we'll end it. But thank you for watching. I loved talking about this, so please share this around, and we'll see you next time. Catch you later.
I am never going to be rich enough for this to concern me. Good night, all.